Hey everybody, welcome to your full moon in Aquarius Tarotscopes. So the full moon in Aquarius that we'll have on August 9th, which is a week from this Saturday if you're catching this live. So welcome to my channel if you're new here, and of course, welcome back if you're returning. I'm Joshua the Psychic, and you can check out my website, psychicsun.com, if there's anything I can do for you. Also, I have lots of free, cool resources for you in the description as well, so do check those out if you are so inclined. So our full moon in Aquarius is on August 9th, 2025. And full moons are all about the harvest. It's that culmination, that period 6 months after the new moon in Aquarius, which we had on January 29th, 2025. So you might want to think back to 6 months ago. Did you make any intentions? Did you create a wish list? Because now is when you'll see the fruition of your goals. And we're talking about culmination. So it's time to gather the fruits of your labors and to celebrate what you've achieved. It's always good to look and see what you have accomplished over the last 6 months. It's going to encourage you this full moon to reflect on the goals that you've achieved, the lessons that you've learned, and what has reached a natural completion. Full moons are full circle, so there might be some things that are going bye-bye, some things that no longer fit with the life story you wish to have. So harvest your efforts, honor closure, and embrace full circle growth. We have quite a few interesting aspects this full moon. Mars will oppose Saturn as well as Neptune. You can see that here. You got Mars bottom over here in Libra at 1 degree, and it's opposing Neptune and Saturn exact, which are both at 1 degree too. Neptune and Saturn are in Aries. So when we're dealing with an opposition, yep, there could be conflict, but you also can have something be complementary, right? Sometimes you need things to be complementary with that opposition. So two things can actually coincide and collaborate quite nicely, but the two need to be balanced. Hey, Haley, nice to see you. So just keep that in mind. We do have this opposition. What we need to do, because we're dealing with Mars, we're dealing with Saturn, we need to balance ambition with patience, right? Because, well, essentially, Mars is going to want to go, and Saturn's going to want you to slow your roll. So you want to just balance that out a little bit. Get your vision together with that Neptune next to Saturn. I mean, Saturn and Neptune conjunct is really good because Neptune can help you visualize, imagine what you want, and then Saturn is going to help you to put into the work. So you may experience tension between go and slow down, right? Fits and starts. And with Mercury retrograde, and this is the tail end of the retrograde because Mercury will be going direct on August 11th. However, the last few days of the retrograde and the first few days of the retrograde tend to be the worst, particularly the last few days. You would think that it would get better as things go along, but no, it really, at the end of the retrograde, especially when it stations direct, it's almost better for Mercury to be in some kind of motion going retrograde as opposed to just that pause. So definitely give yourself some extra time. Patience is a great virtue to cultivate. And we also have this beautiful Air Kite. And this is a really cool formation. You see the kite here. So let's first look at this triangle. See this big triangle here, right smack dab in the middle? Well, you have Uranus at 1 degree Gemini. You have Mars at 1 degree Libra. You have Pluto at 2 degrees Aquarius, and all of those are air signs. Those are the 3 air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And they're all within orb, meaning they're all within 1 degree of each other. So we have a grand air trine. That means that we have a lot of air that we can play with. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of logic. We have a certain amount of detachment. We can really be very, very smart during this period and very visionary. Now, the kite part is because, look, Neptune and Saturn over here at the top are making sextiles to to the Gemini, the Uranus and Gemini, as well as that Pluto and Aquarius. So we have all this air with this grand air trine, and we also have this great ability to ground our ideas with Saturn and to make sure that they're soulful with Neptune. So ideas are going to flow easily. And luckily, we have a firm mast. You could look at that as Saturn, and soulful purpose, Neptune, to guide them. So this is going to make things easier in a lot of respects. It's a matter of you want to allow yourself to really flow with the least resistance. There's going to be some things that are just so easy, and we'll talk about where you might find them in your chart this lunation. Now, we're talking about in this Tarotscopes episode, skipped tracks. And that's because we have a quincunx going on. A quincunx is a 150-degree angle. It's also known as an inconjunct. And when that happens, it means that two planets have absolutely nothing in common. So in this instance, we have our full moon in Aquarius, and it's making a quincunx or an inconjunct or a 150-degree angle with Venus and Jupiter, which are both in the sign of Cancer. So Aquarius and Cancer are really, really different. Even though the opposite of Aquarius is Leo and the opposite of Cancer is Capricorn, they actually, those opposites have more in common than Aquarius and Cancer, right? Because if you think about it, Aquarius is fixed air and Cancer is cardinal water, and they just don't have anything in common. So it's hard for them to really see each other. They don't really understand each other. Obviously, if you're a Cancer or Aquarius, you got to look at the whole chart. But typically, these two energies do not see eye to eye at all. This Leo and Aquarius and Cancer and Capricorn actually have more in common than Aquarius and Cancer because they inconjunct. So if you think about it, right, Aquarius is very cerebral, it's very intellectual, it's very detached. Cancer is like the emotional depressive of the zodiac, right? They're very, very emotional people. In fact, every lunation for a Cancerian is really, really tough. Whereas a typical Aquarius, they may be affected, but they're not going to know they're affected. So Aquarians are emotionally detached, but that doesn't mean that they don't have emotions. They're just removed from their emotions, right? Whereas a Cancer is extremely emotional. So we got to find some way to work with this inconjunct, this full moon, because we have Jupiter and Venus both bringing you blessings in that area of your chart. So it's going to be very easy for us to bypass it, right? Because we have our full moon in Aquarius, we're not going to necessarily be able to see these blessings brought to you by Venus and Jupiter in Cancer. So we want to focus there, and that's why in this presentation, we're talking about how it's the concept of skipped tracks. Whenever you have an inconjunct, it's just one of those things like, well, it's just too much of a hassle. It's out of the way. Like, why would you bother doing it when there's other things that are more accessible? But even though we have an inconjunct this full moon, it's going to be really important to honor it just because you have the two most beneficial planets, Venus as well as Jupiter, in this inconjunct. So we'll talk about where that is for everybody in your chart. And I feel like music really brings us all together, you know, depending on what end of this political spectrum you're in or what religion you're in. We all might, you know, love that Beatles song, or we all might love certain things. Obviously, not everybody likes the Beatles, but you catch my drift, right? Music brings people together, typically. So life is a collection of moments. Like tracks on a record, some skip, some repeat, and some play just once, but each leaves its mark. Also, another cool quote, and both of these are unknown. The authors are unknown. The grooves of a record are like the grooves in our mind, memories playing over and over until we lift the needle. And I think in a lot of respects, the full moon is what we do, right? We lift that needle with the full moon because it might be a matter of, yeah, I can't do this anymore, right? An object in motion likes to stay in motion. And if we're used to flowing our energy in a certain way, it's hard for us to know when to get off the bus, so to speak, right? And I feel like with this full moon, which is going to give us a certain amount of perspective and detachment, as well as Mercury retrograde, which is helping us to reflect with a certain amount of distance, we're going to be able to see like, yeah, I have to move this needle. I can't keep doing things this way. This is no longer fun. This is no longer joyful. This no longer has heart and meaning. So we'll talk more about that. And finally, we all have a B-side, quieter tracks not everyone gets to hear. And that's sort of like the quincunx that we're playing with this lunation, right? It's quieter. We might not be able to hear it, but we're going to talk about where you can find that quincunx in your chart for this full moon. So check to see, if you want to absolutely be sure, where 16 degrees, 17 degrees of Aquarius is in your chart, 16 to 17. And that is where you're up for harvest and completion, that area of your life. So we're going to start with Aries. So Aries, your full moon is in your 11th house. So if you had a hope, dream, wish, or ideal for your January 29th new moon, you will see the culmination of that. So harvest your hopes and your dreams, honor completion within your network. So the 11th house has to do with not just your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, and your goals, but also your friends, your community, people who see things the way you see them, like-minded people. So you're reaching a stage of completion. That means that you might be celebrating with your friends around the time of this full moon. This means you might be saying bye-bye to some groups or communities that no longer really punch your ticket, right? And it's going to shine a light, right? That's what full moons do. They illuminate. So you might get an understanding of, oh, this is what I want to do, like a hope, dream, and goal that is illuminated. Or you might get understanding of how a particular friend or friend group or community fits in your life. Like, this is the group that I want to be a part of, or this is the group that really no longer is for me. Now we have an opposition, Aries, involving your sign with Mars in your opposite sign of Libra, and Saturn and Aries in your sign, Aries. Saturn and Neptune in Aries for you, Aries. So what you want to do is you want to balance your personal drive with your relationship, right? What does the other person want? Like, how can you balance your needs with somebody else's needs? And that's going to make things easier. It's about win-win situations with an opposition, and it's about collaborating. I feel like with Neptune in your sign and also Saturn, you really probably have slowed your roll a little bit, Aries, and you're actually realizing, oh, geez, had I just slowed down a long time ago, maybe I would have been able to do this back then. But, you never want to go to that woulda, coulda, shoulda. You want to just charge forward and realize the timing of everything is really impeccable. Don't think about what could have been, right? Your timing is impeccable. Oh, Casmar, nice to see you. Happy full moon in Aquarius. I know it's next week, but giving you an early happy full moon. We also have an Air Kite, as I mentioned, and what you want to do, Aries, with this Air Kite is anchor your visionary insights with disciplined action and soulful guidance. So you're probably going to get a lot of visions this full moon. You're going to say, oh, wow, this would be super cool. Maybe this would work, right? And you want to balance that with discipline. Like, what can you do? Little thing you can do to make things go in that direction. And, does it feel right? Does it have that magic, right? Because you're probably going to get an insight and you're going to be probably able to implement it easy peasy, right? Because that Air Kite is going to give you momentum. Now, Venus and Jupiter are making that quincunx this full moon in your 4th house. So revisit your home foundations to unlock nurturing abundance and comfort. So there might be something that you're not realizing could be extremely beneficial to you on the home front. There might be somebody that a family member that can help you with your goals. That could be a really great ally that could make you very, very happy. It could also be a matter of you're looking at your home and you're like, I'm not utilizing this space. This could be a space for me to meditate, or this is a space for me to be creative. So there's hidden benefits for you in your home family area. So that might have to do with your relatives, your close family, but also your actual home. And the card we chose for you, or that we picked for you randomly, it was 8 of Cups. And this is actually a good card for the full moon. You're moving on and you're in red. That is your color, Aries. And the reason why he's in red is because that means that he has passion for the next leg of his journey. But he's moving away from the cups of the emotions. So there might be some emotions you no longer want to experience. Maybe you're always sick of feeling a certain way around a certain crowd or a certain friend or a certain person. Or maybe it's a matter of you're just, you're kind of done. You're kind of done and you don't want to do whatever it might be anymore. So this is the perfect time for it. Moving on and, don't look back in anger. I think that's what Oasis said, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Sunflowers, nice to see you. Thanks for joining tonight. So for Taurus, the full moon in Aquarius will be hitting your 10th house. This is a big one for you, Taurus. This could be a matter of your career really having the spotlight shown on it. So you want to harvest your career milestones, honor your public achievements. Maybe you've done a really great job professionally and there's a big light being shown. You could get an award. You could get called out for notice. You also might be wrapping up a stage in your career and you're like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. This isn't really for me. But more than likely, there is going to be a light shown on you in your professional life. So this is not the time to slack off. Not that Taurus typically does, but you guys are Venus ruled. So there is a little bit of a lazy streak at times to Taurus, but when they work, right? Because an object in motion likes to stay in motion. So if Taurus is working hard, they are like that bull. They are driven and determined and tenacious. But in any case, your full moon in the 10th house, it's going to bring a career matter to a head. Now you have an opposition with Saturn Neptune opposing Mars. So you want to balance your daily work with soul care. How can you balance the nuts and bolts of your day-to-day operations? This is laundry and taking care of tasks and everything. And then you got the 12th house, which is your spirituality. Something as simple as listening to affirmations when you're doing dishes, right? Doing dishes is a 6th house thing. And the 12th house would be affirmation. So you want to somehow find a balance between your work and the things that you do consciously and the other things that you do to enhance your subconscious beliefs, because those are really important. For the Air Kite that you have going on, I would really suggest you let new ideas about resources. It's making a nice little aspect to your 8th house second house of your resources. So it's going to be important for you to really think about what you really value and what you really want to have in your life. And really determining, well, okay, how can you give yourself an action plan to achieve those values? What can you do to structure a routine for yourself around your values? So it's a good time for you to check in. You had Uranus in your sign for quite some time. It is now in Gemini, but it's going back into your sign. So if you're a late degree Taurus, i.e., say you're 25 onward, you are going to be experiencing Uranus back in your sign. I'm sorry to hear, but after it leaves next year, it won't be back. It won't be back. So you are going to be in the clear. And then you have that beautiful quincunx between Venus and Jupiter, with Venus and Jupiter in your 3rd house. So what this means is there might be something like right under your nose that's really good for you that you're not catching. And this could be like, oh, wow, my neighbor works for this company, because the 3rd house has to do with neighbors. And you might want a job in that company. Okay, that could be really, really good, right? There could be something in your local community that makes a huge difference, right? Because the 3rd house has to do with your local community. 3rd house has a lot, right? It also could be siblings. It could be cousins. It could be short distance trips. So there's something that is around that area that's going to be really beneficial for you. So revisit past conversations, especially with Mercury retrograde. It's a good idea to gain a lot from what had been started before. Nurture your local ties for joyful support. Definitely, if you haven't explored your neighborhood, I would. If you haven't had a chat with a sibling or a cousin, I would do that. And if you're looking to learn something new, if you want to take a class or join a group or a club, this would be a really good time to consider it, right? I would probably start after Mercury goes direct, just so after August 11th, just so you have a better idea of what you're getting into. And the card we chose for you is the Wheel of Fortune. So things are speeding up. You're going to get a sense of destiny with the Wheel of Fortune. And this is going to be a matter of making sure that you're staying centered at the hub of the wheel, right? You don't want to be tossed around by fate, right? You want to be right at the hub of the wheel. And when you see your opportunity, go for it, right? Because the Wheel of Fortune is saying that things are cycling. There's going to be a new cycle, or a cycle repeating itself, most likely. So just keep aware of that and be aware of the cycles that you no longer want to repeat and those cycles that you want to break. And happy new moon, full moon. So Gemini, this full moon is hitting your 9th house. So you may have reached this milestone in terms of school, right? Maybe you're graduating. Maybe you have finished a publishing or a broadcast project. Maybe you're finishing up a very successful trip abroad, right? But you want to allow yourself to celebrate how you've expanded, how you've grown, how you have broadened your mind. And this is also going to shine a light on how you can go to that next level. What leap of faith is next for you? That's what the 9th house is. It's a leap of faith. Whenever you invest in education or go to a foreign country, that's a leap of faith. You don't know what you're getting into, right? You don't know what return, if any, you're going to get in your investment. Entrepreneurship is a 9th house endeavor. So a big light is going to be shown on that. And you're probably going to get a sense of, oh yeah, this is what I should be doing. Now, we do have an opposition between your 5th house and your 11th house, with Mars opposing Neptune and Saturn. So you want to make sure that you are harmonizing your expression with other people, meaning you want to express yourself, 5th house, but you also want to make sure that you're taking other people into consideration. Also, how might your creativity, 5th house, serve your community, 11th house? And when you create something, ask yourself that. How might that serve your circle? And it also might be helpful for you to invite feedback from a trusted friend before finalizing things, before making big decisions, just because you're going to really benefit by working with friends, especially in regard to your creativity. So we have this beautiful Air Kite. You know, self-talk is going to be the name of your game. So I would really just make it a habit to start saying really nice things to yourself. That's going to make a big difference in your life. And also, you know, voicing it into reality. Like if you can see it and you can say it, if you have the courage to say it, and you can stay in that vibration, you know, the big thing is, like, in a nutshell, you know, think about something that you want, right? And think of 3 feelings that you would have if you had what you wanted, right? And what would those 3 feelings be? And then what you do is you've got to practice those feelings, right? Because that's what you're broadcasting. That's what you're going to get. So think about those 3 things that you want, the 3 feelings associated with having it, if you were to get what you want, and then practice that, right? Because repetition as well as intensity is what is going to make your signal really, really, really strong. And by the way, Gemini, things are probably going to get a lot easier for you after August 11th when Mercury is direct. Now you got this gorgeous quincunx with Cancer, Jupiter and Venus and Cancer in your 2nd house. So there might be money that you could be leaving on the table, right? There's some good financial news here for you. You know, Jupiter's not leaving Cancer until next year. All right. So I would definitely look at your talents and your skills and your abilities and see what you might want to share more of with the world, or what do you want to express more? Because even if you're not, you know, say you love singing, and that's your, you know, a fun form of self-expression for you, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to make money as a singer. But if you sing in your spare time, the self-worth and the open throat chakra you get from singing is going to help you to accrue and attract more opportunities for money. So it's a great time to reconnect with your values and really think about, you know, what you bring to the table and your talents and your skills and your abilities. Now, the card chosen for you is Knight of Swords. So you will not be suffering fools gladly, most likely. I think with all this air, Gemini, you're going to be rather empowered. And I would say that it's going to be probably busy for you. So, you know, Knight of Swords is not bad, but, you know, it's a little bit cool. And I would just say measure twice and cut once, right? Because the problem with Knight of Swords is that this guy cannot backpedal. Like once he says his piece, and let me tell you, when he gets mad, he will rip somebody to ribbons. Like he is nasty, cruel, caustic, but there is a place for Knight of Swords. Sometimes we need that, right? Sometimes it's called for. Additionally, the Knight of Swords is about goal-oriented activity. This is what he wants, and this is what he's going after. And because you're a dualistic sign, Gemini, I mean, that's kind of cool that you have such definitive purpose, right? The Knight of Swords is also, it's about a certain amount of coolness, right? It's changes typically that require fast and competent reactions, this Knight of Swords. So be on the lookout for things that you may need to handle. Be cool, be goal-oriented. Just cut out the unnecessary. I think that's going to be key for you because this full moon might give you so many ideas that it's almost like too much to play with, right? And that Knight of Swords can help you cut out the unnecessary. And he'll come in really, really handy for you. But I would say, again, don't go off the handle unless it has been building for some time, and don't make impulsive decisions if you can help it. If it's been building, then go for it. So Cancer, this full moon in Aquarius is hitting your 8th house. So it's going to be a little bit intense for you, but you're one of the luminaries, right? You and Leo. So you're really affected by every lunation, whether it's a new moon or a full moon or, God forbid, an eclipse. You Cancerians really feel things very, very deeply. And this full moon is certainly no exception. It's going to be hitting your 8th house. So you want to release old shared resources. What have you been combining or doing with other people that you're like, this isn't for me. I don't want to commingle with this person or this energy anymore. It might not have anything to do with them. It could just be a matter of you're grown out of it, right? I would say most important with this full moon Cancer, you got to honor your emotional transformations. You're going through a rebirth. An 8th house transit is all about dying, metaphorically, and being reborn. So you may get a sense of what really needs to go bye-bye. You might also be starting a beautiful new beginning in your life. But of course, that new beginning comes from another beginning's end, right? Think of it, say you meet the man in your dreams. Well, you have to mourn your single life, right? You have to change. Your relationship with your friends are going to change. Your relationship with your parents may change, right? So even though you have this beautiful new beginning with this Prince Charming, you're going to say goodbye to your old house. You're going to say goodbye to the type of relationships that you've had before. I mean, you'll still keep your relationships most likely, but they're going to change and they're going to transform. And throughout all of this, it's going to be rather emotional. So give yourself that grace, give yourself space. And we have an opposition between the 4th house and the 10th house. So again, this could be a little bit tricky. It's all about, balancing your home life, your emotional security with your professional life and your public image. How can the two coincide? How can you create really good boundaries so that your work life doesn't interfere with your personal life and vice versa? Now we have this beautiful Air Kite making things really easy for you in terms of you'll get these flashes of genius most likely, and you're going to be able to put them toward your emotional security. Oh, geez, if I just did this, I'd feel so much better every day. What routine or habit can you commit to that will at some point become familiar and aligns with your emotional ideals, right? What can you do on a regular basis? And what can you plan to do that's going to really help your emotional security and your family? Now, you're very, very lucky. Although you're going through an 8th house transit, and although you have an opposition between your 4th and your 10th, which is not easy because those are angular, we do have Venus and Jupiter blessing you in your 1st house. So you want to refresh your self-image by tending to your emotional needs first. Because we're dealing with the energy of Cancer, it's really all about your emotionality. So what do you need to do to feel as perfect as possible? We're never going to be perfect, sadly. Sucks. But we can try to feel perfect. And if you feel perfect, you're going to feel better, right? If you can try to feel perfect, you're going to be able to manifest a lot more easily. You're going to be able to get much more of what you want. Your relationships are going to thrive because people are going to be like, I want what she's having, right? So do whatever you can to really honor yourself. This could be, mirror work. This could be positive affirmations. This could be after the retrograde, after August 11th, going shopping. I wouldn't go shopping under the retrograde. And if you do, I would save your receipts. Not a time for luxury items. As awesome as it might look in the store, after Mercury goes direct, you'll be like, what was I thinking? This was the stupidest So just bear that in mind. But you might want to give yourself a nice refresh or even utilize this time to determine, okay, well, this is the color palette I'm going to wear in the fall, or this is my new hairstyle, whatever it might be. But you're going to be really very lucky. So I would really go after anything professionally that you want. I would say that's going to be really key. If you're looking for an upgrade, you want to make your relationship better, you want a new relationship, I mean, anything you want, really, with Venus and Jupiter in your first house. It's just a matter of self-identifying as somebody who has it. Now, the card we pulled for you is the Moon, which is no surprise. The Moon card, it's one of those cards, it's almost like there's stuff happening, but I don't know what to do, and it can be confusing, and it can be bewildering. It can also be very imaginative and very romantic. But essentially, you might be feeling a little bit out of sorts, Cancer, which is no big distinction between any lunation, because that typically happens, right? With the sign of Cancer, you guys are ruled by the Moon. And with Mercury retrograde and you're going through an 8th house transit, an opposition between your 4th and your 10th, take a beat. Nothing serious is going on here. Like I said, Jupiter is going to be in your sign for the rest of the year into summer next year. So you want to make sure that you take a little bit of time, especially with Mercury retrograde, and don't feel like you have to do anything in this red hot minute. Give yourself that time. Honor your emotionality. This is a very emotional time for you, most likely, and you're going to make better decisions when you're not feeling emotional. So tend to yourself and enjoy your full moon. So Leo, this one is hitting your opposite sign. So the sun has been in Leo, and now we're balancing things and giving you a full moon in Aquarius. So it's a full moon in your 7th house. So you may have reached this degree of completion with a partner. Maybe you're celebrating an anniversary. Maybe you're realizing, the lessons that you've learned. Maybe you kick somebody to the curb and you're like, oh my God, I'm so much stronger without this jerk in my life, right? But reflect on your relationships. Offer gratitude or acknowledgement to anybody who is in your life. If you have that special someone, this is a really great time to connect more deeply with them, to even make some adjustments, right? Now we have that opposition between your 3rd house and your 9th house. So your 3rd house is about the logic, and the 9th house is like the big picture, right? 3rd house helps you to get from A to B to C, right? And the 9th house is like, it's C or it's D, right? So this might be good for you to really tap into your local community. There might be something going on with your local community that affects or has to do with the world at large, right? And you might find some people that actually get you. This could be a really good time for you to actually communicate. Maybe you have some really great ideas, 9th house, and you're actually ready to write them and publish them or broadcast them. But you want to make sure that what's going on in your head, your ideals and your life philosophy, you're giving it balance with the logic that you have, right? How can you communicate, right? This could be a matter of watching the news and then writing about the news, right? That sort of balance. Now we have a gorgeous Air Kite. And for you, it's going to be really beneficial for you to get that inspiration, right? And really think about what you want to do publicly, right? This is your season. You might want to put on a play. You might want to go out on a limb and do something you've never done before, right? And really what's going to be key for you with this Air Kite is to do something that's really fun, but you want to create a certain strategy and a disciplined program for yourself, right? So let the sparks fly. You're probably going to be feeling extremely creative during this period, but you got to create a plan and then work your plan. Now we have Venus and Jupiter in your 12th. And that is where you are very, very blessed. You're actually really blessed behind the scenes. If you're a writer, this is great. If you do things privately, that's really great because that's the area, that private area of your chart is really being blessed. So you might be aware of this full moon, of your hidden feelings that you may have. You know, sometimes we have that happen, right? We get a sense of, do I feel that way? And then we, especially fixed signs, right? Then we get off the subject really quick because it's scary or intimidating. But, you know, be strong and allow yourself to revisit any feelings that you may be harboring that you might not want to look at. And really, this is a wonderful time to heal your subconscious. If you are always in a similar situation, well, again, the buck stops with you. You're the common denominator. So this is a great time for you to be like, I know I do this. I always go right for the guy who's absolutely wrong for me. Or maybe it's a matter of I always get into conflicts with my boss at work. Okay, well, what subconscious stuff do you need to heal in order to change the story? Now, the card we chose for you is Six of Cups. This is one of the best cards in the pack. It's it's a nostalgic card. An old lover could be coming back, which is no big surprise since it's Mercury retrograde. I would just look closely and make sure you do your due diligence before inviting them back into your life. What is that? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So make sure if somebody comes back, you're not being an idiot, right? Don't get burned by the same flame twice. At the same time, some people do change. So be sure to vet that. If it's not a new relationship, or an old relationship resurfacing, it could be a matter of you're ready to get back into the field, right? You're ready to start dating. That makes a lot of sense with your 7th house. But the key to this card is the past. It's about remembrance of good things and good times. And it also doesn't have to be romantic. It can just be being a nice person. You know, watering a neighbor's plant for the weekend, taking care of somebody's dog when they're going away, whatever it might be. But allow yourself to tap into that energy of kindness and innocence and generosity because it's going to make your heart feel better. And if your heart feels better, well, you help to light up the world. And of course, your life, right? So happy full moon. So Virgo, you got this full moon in your 6th house. And that's good for you. The 6th house is actually the house that your sign is associated with. So it's all about the nuts and bolts of your day-to-day operations. We're talking about your work. We're talking about your health. We're talking about your eating. We're talking about your exercise. So a big light is being shown on that area of your chart. And you might be saying, oh, shoot, I need to get organized, or I need to drop 5 pounds, or I need to eat better because of X, Y, B, and Z, or I need to get a new job, whatever it might be. But a big light is being shown on your processes, your day-to-day processes, what's working, what's not working, and you'll probably be illumined as to what you need to change and how you can change it most successfully. So you want to make sure that part of your daily regime is really honoring your body and your mind, right? Because especially you, you Virgos, your bodies are so very sensitive, right? And you're very analytical. So you got to make sure that every day you have habits that are good for your body and good for your brain. Now we have this opposition between your 2nd house and your 8th house. So you want to balance your personal finances with what you are sharing with other people. Maybe it's a matter of like, okay, well, this is my vacation fund. This is my fund for my relationship. And all the funds that we have here are going to my relationship. So, this could be like a joint account that you and your honey have. So you're not the one who's paying the entire vacation, right? Or the expenses, right? You want to balance what's yours with what is other people's, right? And be logical about it. How can you balance what you have with what other people have? How can you honor your values while also honoring other people's? And I think that's one of the most important things to do in relationships for success, is to be aware of, well, what does this other person really value? What's important to this other person? And making sure you're balancing that with what's really important for you. And we have this beautiful Air Kite, Apply visionary insights to daily rituals for lasting impact. So you're probably going to get an idea of like, oh, I could do this on a regular basis, or this fits nicely into my schedule, right? But remember, your habits are really, really important. Everybody's habits are really important, but particularly for you, Virgo. So think about, well, don't think, but allow yourself to get that vision of what you might do that's a small change that makes a big difference. Now, Venus and Jupiter are camped out in your 11th house. That's very, very good for you. Your network is really going to be helpful. As they say, your network determines your net worth. Not always, but sometimes. So I would definitely lock up your LinkedIn, your privacy settings, making sure they're all locked up. So if you're currently employed, your boss doesn't know you're looking for another job. But you might want to really tap into social media, connect with people for either professional endeavors. Maybe it's a new job because this full moon is in your 6th. Also, reconnect with people from the past. You probably have an amazing reputation, Virgo. Connect with people that you may have worked with before, right? To help you get that new job or to meet someone, whatever it might be. Lean into your community for joyful support. The card pulled for you is the Fool. So allow yourself to go out on a limb. You know, the Fool card, he's nothing. He's nothing, but he's everything. And if you just say that, if you say, I am nothing, there's a certain freedom, right? Because so often we're like, oh, I'm a son, I'm an uncle, I'm a brother, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm a teacher, I'm that. And we get locked into that, and that can be rather stifling. But if you just say, I'm nothing, there's a freedom. And if you also say, I'm everything, there's also a freedom. It's different energy. But both of those vibrations, nothing and everything, is the Fool. So allow yourself to go on a limb, take a leap of faith. Don't be afraid of being nothing. Don't be afraid of being a zero, because that zero is like an egg and it has infinite potential. And you want to allow yourself to just make this your year. Your birthday is coming up, right? So now's the time for it. Additionally, Libra. Happy full moon, Libra. This one is going to be fun for you. You and Aquarius get along like peanut butter and chocolate. So this is going to be good for you. And it's a 5th house full moon. So a big light is going to be shown on whatever lights you up. You're going to get an idea of like, this is what really would make me happy. It might be a matter of you're reaching this fulfillment in a relationship, a romantic relationship, right? The 5th house is more of those like affairs, right? It's not necessarily a committed partner. It's somebody that you just really have fun with. Before you get to the partnership, which is the 7th house, you have the 6th house. So essentially, 5th house is the house of true love. You really love this person. You get along well with them. The sex is great. You have fun together. You laugh a lot. You play, etc. But the 6th house is then, okay, but do your lifestyles, are they compatible? And if they are, then you get married in the 7th house. But the 5th house is like that house of play. Like, how can you have fun? So you might be reaching a beautiful conclusion, right? And you meet somebody and it's true love and you're having a lot of fun. You could be wrapping up a wonderful creative project. So celebrate what you have achieved. If you've had fun, if you had a really good time, you manifested that. If you've, met somebody and had a good time with them, but also this full moon could be saying, this is no longer working. I don't want this in my life anymore. This person is no longer turning me on. That could be. And also could shine a light on, I think I might try this type of person, right? Or this creative project, right? I think that with this Aquarius energy, there might be something unexpected. Like, I never knew I would actually like doing this. Or I would actually be attracted to this type of person. So allow yourself to have fun and play. Now, we do have an opposition. Mars is in your sign, so you're going to be feeling a lot more fiery than usual. I think this is good. I think it's nice. I think it's good that you're going to have that fire. So you want to balance, though, your self-assertion with what your partner needs, right? Graceful pauses. Remember, we have a lot of energy that's happening. You're going to be super empowered with that Mars in your 1st house and Mercury's retrograde. So make sure you have that pause to make sure that you're not taking the other person into consideration. Rarely is that an issue for Libra. Libra usually does. And that Air Kite you're going to probably get an idea of like what you want to do, who you want to be as an artist, who you want to be in the bedroom. You might get an idea of who you want to be, when you're having fun, right? Whatever that might look like for you. And it's a matter of you can really work with this with collaborating with other people, right? I think that with this Air Kite for you, you want to allow yourself to play director. And some people are just dumb. Some people, you got to just tell them, I need you to do this. This feels stupid. This is good. Do this, do that, right? It's like playing director a little bit. I think that could be really good for you. And anything that you wind up doing creatively, I think collaborating with other people could be really good, but I would be the one that creates the plan. I would create your plan, your structure for that collaboration. Playing director is really key. And then you got a beautiful quincunx going on in your 10th house. So revisit your career dreams. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to contribute to your community, to the world, right? Even if you're not looking to make a change professionally, you're going to have so many blessings in that area of your chart that it would not hurt for you to, just make sure you're cashing in on the good things that might be around you professionally. There might be opportunities for you to really shine. And if you're looking for a new career, well, this is the time to do it, because Venus and Jupiter are in your 10th house. This might give you an idea. This full moon, you might realize, oh, wow, this I really find fun. Your 5th house full moon. Maybe I could make it a career. And with the Chariot card, Chariot is really positive. This is about a new journey that you're going to be going on, Libra. And it's going to be very successful, because if you notice the canopy over here above the Charioteer, it has stars on it, which suggests that his victory has come before he even arrived. Like he's destined for victory, just like you're destined for some victory in your life. So if something excites you, if you want to go out on a limb, you want to start a new journey, either professionally or personally or romantically, creatively, etc., you got it. You got it. You just want to allow yourself to be enthroned in the Chariot. And what I mean by that is, don't want to be controlling things. You want to allow yourself to visualize what you want, and then allow yourself to let go and surrender to the control you already built in. And that would be what you have visualized, right? That's why you always want to make sure that you're thinking more of best case scenarios than, you shouldn't think of any worst case scenarios if you can help it. There's a new journey afoot, and undoubtedly you'll be successful. So Scorpio, this full moon is hitting your 4th house. It's a big deal for you because it's angular, Scorpio. So that means that it could be hitting your personality, it could be hitting your home, it could be hitting your relationship, it could be hitting your career, right? So harvest emotional security and honor family or home completions. Maybe you finished up a renovation. Maybe one of your kids is getting married, right? But you want to honor what's been going on domestically. Maybe you've just reached this level of feeling really at home within the self, a deeper level of emotional security, and you want to honor that. Likewise, there could be a big light shown on what you need in order to feel more emotionally secure, more at home within the self. Now we have an opposition between your 12th and your 6th house. So you want to make sure that you're aligning your subconscious impulses with your actual work, with what you actually do, right? Like you're going to be able to get a lot of insight, intuitive hits, and you want to allow yourself to apply them. So if you have a flash, like it's a great time for you to slow down, because you might be like, there might be an easier way for me to do this, or this is what I need to do. I need to eat more carrots. Things like that. You're going to be getting these glimpses of what you should be doing. And if you can put them toward your well-being and service, well, that'll be just great. So this Air Kite is going to be good for you to really look at what makes you tick, really getting in touch with your subconscious and why you do the things that you do. And really, at the end of the day, if you want to change whatever is in your subconscious, it's a matter of creating a new emotional foundation on which you can build a new life, right? So how can you change your home to change that story, that emotional story, right? That's going to help you a great deal. And we have Venus and Jupiter making that quincunx in your 9th house. So you might actually have a lot of luck if you were to take a foreign trip, not just this lunation, but really between now and next summer, like July 2026. As you got Jupiter hitting your 9th house, it's really very, very good for you. If you're looking to expand your vision, if you're looking to go to school, broaden your mind, this could be a really great time for you to really think about that. Also, is probably a good time for you to plan a foreign trip and to take some kind of leap of faith. Like even if you were thinking about going into entrepreneurship, this could be a really good time. Now, the card chosen for you was 9 of Wands. In this card, we notice this guy, and he looks pretty defensive. He has a bandage on his head, and he's a bit wounded and battle weary. Now, what they say is that this guy might be defensive, but he has a lot of fight in him. And if he's crossed, he will retaliate, and it won't be pretty for the other fella, right? But what's interesting, if you notice these wands behind them, they're erect and standing still, and they're not doing anything. They're orderly. So this might be an attack that never comes. So on one hand, Scorpio, you're finalizing a cycle in your life. On the other hand, watch out for unnecessary defensiveness. You know, that's just the Scorpio posture. Most Scorpios, I would say all Scorpios, are very much always on survival mode to a certain extent. I mean, there are it's like on a gradient, right? But you know, they are very defensive because they're very sensitive, and they have to be. But in the different areas of your life, you know, realize that you're protected and that you're safe and you're strong, and that you don't need to necessarily have your dukes up. You also, you know, you don't want to get hurt, obviously, but, you know, allow yourself to check things out. Don't be super defensive. Finish up what you can because, well, I feel like with that quincunx in your 9th house, you're going to be expanding. So you want to make sure you're taking care of and finalizing anything that is in progress. And that will help you. Yay. Hey, Marlo, nice to see you. Happy Friday Eve to you. Yes, I hope that was helpful, Casmar. Yay! And you have some issues you are tending. Oh, well, aren't we all? Aren't we all? So Sagittarius. So you Sagittarius, you got this full moon in your 3rd. That's easy for you. You and Aquarius get along extremely well. Extremely well. So you might want to complete communication projects, anything local. If you've been doing any local projects in your community, there might be something that you're completing in terms of your neighborhood, your siblings. The 3rd house has a lot. Right? It has to do with your mindset. It has to do with your communications. It has to do with your siblings, your neighbors. It has to do with short distance travels. So you might be finishing up one of those things, right? Maybe it's a dialogue with a friend or a communication project or a short trip, right? But a big light is going to be shown on your mindset, how you think and how that can be changed. You might get an idea for a creative project and you're like, this is it. This is my project. This is what I want to write, or this is what I want to teach, or this is what I want to learn. Because the 3rd house is all about learning as well. Now we have an opposition between your 11th and your 5th. So you want to blend your goals with the group, your collective goals with your community, with your personal creativity. How can you allow yourself to be a standout, right? And find joy in teamwork. There's a lot of joy in teamwork with you here. So I would really think about how you can allow yourself to be a standout among your community. Who are your people? What vibe is your tribe? And how can you allow yourself to incorporate your special particular gifts with the world at large, or with a community at large, or excuse me, a community which acts as a microcosm for the world? So we have an air kite, really good for you. It's going to be making you very strong and giving you a lot of air and making you bigger. Remember, fire needs air to live. So anchor your big ideas in your immediate environment. Like, how can you make changes where you are right now? And how can you share them with your friends and your siblings? This is all about making sure that you have these ideas, really think about them. And I would say, you know, ideally after the 11th, share them with other people, right? You had Venus and Jupiter in your 8th. So this is interesting. Revisit financial or emotional partnerships for deeper abundance. I would say with Venus and Jupiter in your 8th, it's going to be really helpful for you to determine where your boundaries are. Do you need to release a boundary? Do you need to set up a boundary? Where do you need to say no? Where do you need to say yes, right? Because there's some really great luck whenever you put up a boundary or wherever you dissolve a boundary. There's going to be really good things. And I also would say, if you're letting go of something at this time in your life, if you're going through a mourning, that could be very advantageous to you. And you got King of Pentacles as the card for you. So with King of Pentacles, this is about being stable and creating a solution that's going to last far into the future. How can you create something that is your legacy, right? This could be making sure that you have a trust set up for your kids. This could mean that you're, even having children for the future generations, right? That will carry on your legacy. This could be having like books or anything that you wind up creating for the future generations to follow. But this is all about being stable, leaving your mark, and allowing yourself to really think big, but also think materially, right? Like why not, right? Because that freedom that you get with a lot of prosperity is going to make you really, really happy, right? So you want to think about how you can monetize your ideas because it's very, very likely that will happen. Oh, does it? Oh, I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear it. All right. I'm going to be doing Capricorn in 1 second. I'll be right back. Costume change. No, I mean, I just got really, really, really hot. And I'm like, I'm going to pass out if I don't get a fan on and get something to drink. Thanks for your patience. I'm glad, Casmai, that made sense for you. So for you, Capricorn, you got this full moon in your 2nd house, which is actually really good for you because you tend to like money, right? You like your money. You got your mind on your money and your money on your mind, right? And this 2nd house transit, you're probably going to get some kind of payout, is my guess. If you don't get some big kind of payout, if there's not money that comes to you, then my guess, Capricorn, is that a big light is going to be shown on what you could be doing to be making more money. So harvest your personal resources, celebrate what you've achieved so far. Even if you got a raise since January, celebrate that. I also would say that a big light should be shown on your talents, your skills, your abilities. So just keep that in mind. You might get a sense of like, this is how I need to express myself right now. And of course, a byproduct of that self-expression is going to be monetary gains, even if you're expressing yourself doing something that you're not getting paid for, right? Because you're opening your throat chakra. That's going to make you more valuable. It's going to help you to attract more money. Now, we have an opposition between your 10th and your 4th. This could be a little bit awkward. So you want to balance your career with your home life. It could be a matter of you've told your honey that you're going to be spending more time with them, but then all of a sudden your boss says, we really need you to put the pedal to the metal. So now it's like, well, I already promised my partner I'm going to do this for them. And now I promised my boss, right? So you want to make sure you're balancing both. Even a conversation, or setting your boundaries with both, your home life and your work life, right? Because you want to make sure that it's on a solid foundation. I would say that it's a matter of making sure that you're creating the foundation in terms of your career and your home. What I mean by that is you don't want every single month this to be an issue with your partner. Same thing with your boss. You don't want this to be an issue. So what foundation are you going to create that allows you to nip whatever issue is in the bud? If you're noticing things keep coming up, take care of them, right? Now, the Air Kite for you, I would suggest that you're going to get these insights. It's going to be great. Think about what you really value. And you're probably going to get some really good ideas for financial planning. You might be interested in doing some investing or buying a house, right? But you're going to get some really great flashes of genius and insight. So put those to good use. Now, you're very, very lucky in terms of your partnerships. You got Venus and Jupiter in your 7th house. So reconnect with your significant others, invite blessings into your closest bonds. This could be a matter of really getting to that next level, maybe rekindling that flame with a partner that you already have. Or if you're looking for a new one, be it a personal or professional one, well, you're going to be able to get it. And the card chosen for you, I'm so happy when I saw this, 9 of Cups. You're going to be that cat who ate the canary, Capricorn. So this is about just pure, indulgent satisfaction. Maybe you get that really great raise. Maybe you hit a scratch ticket. Maybe you get your pick of the litter in some capacity, the perfect partner, your partner has changed, whatever it might be, right? 9 of Cups is really having your cake and eating it too. So allow yourself to set that stage, right? You want to make your mind up to be happy, and then more happy things or things that make you happy are going to come into your life. And Aquarius, so this is your full moon. Happy full moon in your sign, Aquarius. So this is a complete cycle of self-development. So you want to think about, where were you 6 months ago? Where were you in January, around the time of your birthday? If you have an ability to look back, like a journal or a diary or old videos or whatever, good idea for you to check in just so you can say, you know what, I've done quite a good job here, right? It also is going to be shining a big light on you. So there might be more exposure coming your way. You might be in high demand. I would definitely get your rest before, during, and after this full moon. And you're going to shine a light on who you really are. So there's that authenticity that is going to be illuminated because it's hitting your 1st house. So you'll get a better understanding of who you are and what you need. Now we have an opposition between your 9th and your 3rd. So you want to integrate your higher mind visions into your everyday communications, right? You probably have these ideas, 9th house. They're a little bit out there. Oh, this would be cool. Or why does this happen like that? Bring it down to earth, right? Be logical. Write about it. Talk about it, right? Because with that 9th house being activated with Mars, right? Mars in Libra, it's going to be important for you to do something with it, right? That's concrete. How can you make things concrete in terms of your ideals, your philosophy, what you're taking in from the world, right? There's been a lot of information coming to all of us. So how can you work with that? We have a beautiful Air Kite. So your big ideas, it might be a matter of you're going to find some new ways of expressing yourself, maybe some new habits that are empowering and that are good for you. And with Venus and Jupiter in your 6th, you're really blessed when it comes to your work life. You might get a whole bunch of wonderful clients. You might get a nice cushy office. You might get, a cushy job if you want, whatever it might be, but you're getting a lot of blessings in terms of work. This could be, working and doing something that you would do it for free. I think that's the most success, right? Also, if you're looking to feel better physically, this is really good for your health. If you're looking for more efficient routines, it's really good for that. But there's going to be some really good improvements in your day-to-day lifestyle. Now, the card chosen for you, Page of Cups. So what's happening with Page of Cups is, well, you're probably going to be more emotional and more open, right? The Page of Cups is like that kid, right? So you want to be more young at heart, more open emotionally. You might find yourself, wanting to express yourself via art or new forms of artistic expression. You might find yourself more open and more sympathetic and compassionate. And I think it's good. I think it's good because this full moon, it's going to give you almost like this rebirth. And of course, the whole point of a rebirth is allowing yourself to be young at heart, right? And that's really what the Page of Cups is all about. So you'll have an opportunity to be more young at heart. Maybe it's in your relationships. Maybe it's with your artwork, your creative projects, etc. You just had Marla's an Aquarius, by the way. You had a meeting with her supervisor and she's over the moon. Of course she is. Of course she is. Of course she is. Hey, Feisty Fiddler, nice to see you. And last but never least, my fishies, my Pisces. So you got the full moon in the 12th house, Pisces. Take a beat, rest, hide under the covers, get on your AC, have fun, but, lie low. Allow yourself to relax a little bit because we have a full moon in your sign coming up next month, right? So do bear that in mind. This full moon is going to give you an understanding of your spiritual insights, honor your closures in your inner world. Like what have you changed within your psyche that has made a big difference, right? What even outside of your psyche, like what are you closing up? What endings are you celebrating? This 12th house, it's going to give you a real big understanding of like, wow, I've accomplished this. I kick ass. I'm amazing at this, right? And along the way, you'll also understand better the spiritual insights from what you've gone through. Now, we have an opposition between your 8th and your 2nd. So we've shared resources into personal values and tend to both with care. So determine what it is that you do with other people, right? What are you sharing with other people? And how is that complementary to what you value and to what they value, right? You want to make sure that you're connecting with not just your values, but with what those people that you're associated with, what is really important to them. That's going to help you to be a good partner, and they'll reflect that back to you. So then, therefore, you're going to have your partner helping you achieve value fulfillment with your values, and you'll help them do that with theirs, right? Now we have gorgeous Air Kite. You're going to get these flashes. I think they're going to help you with your finances. So you're probably going to get some flashes of like, I could do this, right? And Pisces typically doesn't have any issues with money. It floats into life very, very easily. But you're going to get some insights as to how you can make the best financial and material decisions. Maybe you'll see a number in your head, or maybe you'll think that you want to invest in stocks or bonds or real estate or something, but it will be perfect for you. Now you got that quincunx in your 5th house. So there might be some past relationship or creative project that is really good for you with this retrograde that you decide that can bring you a lot of luck, that could bear a lot of fruit. There also might be a relationship either from the past or a new one that brings you great joy, right? Don't forget what lights you up, because that's where the gold is. You're going to be very, very lucky and really blessed if you do things that bring you joy. This could be with your kids, if you have kids. This could be with your creative projects. This could be with your romantic partners, right? And if you don't have any of those, if you don't have a child and you want a child, if you don't have a creative project or a relationship, well, 5th house isn't really a relationship. It's sort of like a tryst, is that the right word? Tryst. But yeah, if you're looking for one of those things and you don't have them, this is a great time for you to do it. But you want to take your time. The card we chose for you is 4 of Swords. So this means hold your horses and allow yourself that beat. Allow yourself to rest. This is the mind looking at itself. And with Mercury retrograde And we have this full moon. It's hitting your 12th house. I mean, there's no other card that's better for you. It's Four of Swords. Even if we weren't in Mercury retrograde, 12th house transit, you got a Four of Swords. You got to quiet down the mind. So allow yourself to rest. Don't feel like you have to do anything. The world's not going anywhere. And you're going to be just fine. But get some extra rest. Unplug the phone. Spend some time alone. Honestly, because this full moon is around the time of Mercury going direct. And like I said, at the end of the retrograde, it can be really, really bad. Four of Swords is not a bad card to epitomize, right? So I hope this was helpful. So great to see so many in the live audience, the chat tonight. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you very, very soon. Tomorrow for This Week Astrology and next Thursday as well. Take care, everybody, and happy full moon. Bye-bye.